to get laid. I'm gonna go back to work.
Someday I will die. This laptop I'm using is patient and can wait. These are the words that Roger Ebert chose to close out in his review of the 2009 science fiction film Moon. Directed by Duncan Jones and starring Sam Rockwell, Moon is a simple but hard-hitting story about the value of life casted under the backdrop of a cold, bleak science fiction film calling back to movies such as 2001: A Space Odyssey. Moon is one of my favorite films of all time. It's such an atypical sci-fi film that I can't help but be drawn into. It's a story about how the vastness of space and its rich, endless depths can ironically lead you into feeling trapped and isolated. And after over a decade since it came out, it's something I really want to talk about. Because Moon is more than just a homage to 2001. It's a film that explores the value of life that's not just human and investigates the ethics of labor, identity, and choice. I believe that Ebert chose to close out his review with those words to conclude the finality of space, that it is endless, uncaring, and will move on once we have all died. But while there is sorrow in that vastness, there can also be hope. For the record, if you ever ask me what the first thing I think of whenever I hear the term science fiction, I'm gonna throw you into a space opera rabbit hole. When I think of sci-fi, I think of grand battles in space, dramatic and heartfelt moments between exotic aliens and larger-than-life humans, and I think of the romance, the pain, and the action that deep space exploration can lead us to. I'm talking about stories like Mass Effect, Dune, and of course, Star Wars. Stories that aren't as interested in exploring how we can reach intergalactic travel, but more on what kind of interesting and unique things we'll encounter when we do get there. Usually stories that try and explain every facet of technology and how it works and why bores the hell out of me. So it came as a surprise for me that within the first 10 minutes of Moon, I was already hooked on what I was watching. Like I said earlier, Moon is a hard sci-fi film akin to 2001. Hard science fiction investigates the inner workings of how technology in the future would work just as much as it weaves a story about them working. For Moon, that story is about one man, Sam Bell, a contracted employee at the end of his 3-year term mining helium-3 on the moon. After 3 years with nobody to talk to except his robot assistant Gertie, Sam is ready to leave and go back to his home to his wife and 3-year-old daughter. That's until his rover crashes and Sam is presumed dead. And then another Sam wakes up.
You tell me who that is. You tell me who that is!
Sam Bell. We need to get him to the infirmary immediately.
Yep, the Sam we've been following from the beginning of the film is a clone. And we later find out that not only is he one of many clones that have completed Sam's 3-year shift over and over again, but that he's only got 3 years to live. The exact amount of time Sam's original contract stationed on the moon lasts. And guess how long he's been staying since the start of the film? Combine that with an all-new clone being released after Sam was thought to be dead, and Sam has to figure out the truth of not just himself, but about his family and the other clones, as well as what Lunar Industries, the corporation Sam has been working for, plans to do with him once he's done. When I said earlier that Moon was an atypical sci-fi film, I meant it in how bare it all is. This is a Spartan science fiction movie. There's only one on-screen actor, it uses practical effects instead of CGI to save costs, and the entire moon base set was filmed on a single, shut-off unit. It's a sci-fi film that is very conservative in how it portrays its speculative nature. But it works so well because of how limited everything is. When a film like this is this minimal, there's nothing to hide from it. There's no breathtaking special effects or all-star cast to keep you distracted. It's just Sam Rockwell talking to himself for an hour and a half while Kevin Spacey voices his robot best friend. That means for a film like Moon to succeed, it entirely falls upon the strength of its writing and acting. Both aspects I feel are absolute masterclass in quality. Let's start with the acting. Yes, Sam Rockwell is tasked to play 2 identical copies of the exact same character for an hour-and-a-half long movie. It's the kind of task you would think would only work for a comedy. Oh, look at how similar both Sams are! But Rockwell puts in such an amazing performance with both clones that by the end of the film you want nothing more than to give both Sams a hug for all the terrible shit that's been done to them. Rockwell makes each Sam clone unique by giving them their own personalities with their own key body languages and quirks. The first Sam we see is very composed and relaxed, likely from having to spend 3 years on the moon with no real outside contact other than some pre-recorded video messages. The second Sam clone is, well, an asshole. Very neurotic and very unstable, to the point when the first Sam clone sees just how temperamental he is, he almost starts appreciating how much being on the moon has calmed him down. But the second Sam's presence and personality is important in figuring out just what's going on with the 2 clones, because it's thanks to the second Sam's abrasive attitude that the first Sam starts looking deeper into what's going on, and regains some of that rebellious fire that had been fading away from deep space isolation. All of this, by the way, is conveyed in Rockwell's fantastic acting between himself. The scene where the first Sam tries to thank the second Sam for saving his life by mumbling his way through a thank you shows just how much the first Sam has completely forgotten all about talking to another person, and an example of how good Rockwell's acting is that he has to portray 2 of the exact same characters but in very different times in their lives.
Hey, I know this is weird, you know. I'm real lonely, you know. I just want to shake your hand. Will you shake my hand?
But great acting also comes from great writing and directing, and this is where you really see Duncan Jones shine as a creator. One of my favorite little moments in establishing just how different both Sams are is when we see both engaging in their hobbies in back-to-back scenes. The second Sam is busy working out, while the first Sam is seen crafting a wooden model of his hometown. Sam's status as a clone, as well as the mystery of where his family actually is enough to carry out the rest of the film, but there's more to Moon than just Sam's struggle with identity and mortality. I've talked about Sam long enough. You know why his character and acting work so well. What I really want to talk about is the final piece that makes Moon such a magnificent sci-fi film. I would like to bring up the real star of Moon, Sam's robot pal Gertie. Introduced as Sam's assistant, Gertie is one of the best red herrings in sci-fi film history. This artificial life is where the homages to 2001 begin and end. You see him in his overly friendly attitude and relationship to Sam and think to yourself, okay, so when is he going to turn out to be evil or working with the corporation all along? It's been 40 years since Stanley Kubrick introduced the world to HAL 9000. Artificial intelligence as helpers and friends in science fiction has historically never ended well for humanity because it plays up the fear of what technology can bring. An enemy that we made, we programmed, and we designed. That is why it comes as a shock when Gertie is revealed to be Sam's friend all along. He comes clean to Sam about the truth regarding his clone status, tries his best to counsel him, and even sacrifices himself near the end, all for Sam's safety and well-being. Why though? Why does this artificial machine, who has nothing to gain and everything to lose if Sam escapes, try so much to help take care of Sam, even if he knows that they're not even the real Sam? Well, in his own words,
I'm here to keep you safe, Sam. I want to help you.
what a bro. The last thing I want to cover about Moon is the question of labor it brings up. Whenever we see dangerous working conditions in developing countries or low-income communities, either on the internet or on the news, our first instinct is to decry the terrible conditions these people must work in, and for good reason. Of course, seeing our fellow humans work in such horrific working conditions naturally causes our empathy to flare up and voice our concern for our fellow humans. But what about clones? What about artificial intelligence? Moon asks the question if we can feel the same empathy for people who are like us, but are clearly not human. Can we understand and feel sympathy towards people who may look and act like us, but aren't? The answer, of course, is yes. Moon isn't that long of a watch, only about an hour and a half long, But after that hour and a half is over, if you're like me, you'll be thinking about Sam and Gertie long after you're done. You'll still be thinking about both Sam's struggle to find out the truth of not just their situation, but also their own fates. Moon to me is a special film. It's a minimalistic look into the value of life through the lens of a cold, bare sci-fi film with just one actor. Just like the vastness of space, it can be dreadful knowing how much the universe just does not care about you. But at the same time, Moon shows us that's okay. Because you could spit in the universe's face back and tell it that you're gonna do your own thing, whether it likes it or not. That at the end of the day, we aren't just programs, but people.